Hello everybody, my name is Greg Klosterman and I am in the Executive Real Estate and Construction Management Class 4000, Business of the Built Environment, taught by Dr. Jeff Engelstad. Today, we're going to go over how to create an investment memorandum. So I created this at my previous job. It's not hard, it's a PowerPoint file, probably takes an hour if you're pretty good at PowerPoint, 20 minutes if you're like super good at it. With this, anytime you work for an investment company, they're going to ask you, if you're one of the interns or new hires, they're going to ask you to do investment summaries or investment memorandums for them. And this is what one looks like. Usually you're always going to want to put your project's name at the top and the location of where it's at. You're going to put your kind of a distinguishing picture of the area. It doesn't necessarily have to be the site, but you want to make it visually appealing because you're going to be selling this to a bank and they need to kind of break the monotony of numbers. So once you do that, this is a cover page. Company logo goes down in the bottom, somewhere down there, and your company could dictate that they don't like this format, but this is a good general format for any type of business proposal. You're going to want to tell exactly what it is, being the investment memorandum. Provide the date. The date's important because then that way you guys, both you and the bank, know when this has been submitted, and they usually have a time frame to respond. You're always going to want to put proprietary and confidential. This is a business plan, and most of this information isn't general public knowledge. So you're going to want to make sure that it is highlighted here. You'll see on the next page, it'll say confidential in red. Next page right here. This is a basic format of what you want to do. You want to put your project up in the corner, the location, again, the date, acquisition and development of X, and the location. You always want to put what your business intent is in a quick sentence, because you can define that sentence later. Transaction overview, add the address, the city, property type, acquisition price, some of the pertinent details that you can get from the pro forma. And yes, some of you will probably be building pro formas. We're not going to go over that. The background in the business plan, this is just a basic thing. It says your company has entered into a purchase and sale agreement with, in this case, Dr. Jeff Engelstad as our instructor. He's the seller. You always want to differentiate the buyer from the seller. And then you're always going to want to tell exactly what the acreage is and where it's located at. And usually you'll do for like per square feet. These numbers are not real. These are just completely fictitious numbers. Property summary is a basic explanation that you can get from the municipality, saying whether it's zoned commercial, what type of commercial, whether it's zoned industrial, whether it's residential. Because that way when you have to go to rezone it, and it goes to entitlements, you know exactly where it's coming from and where it needs to go. Site plan. This is a graphical depiction that you put in here. Usually you're going to get this from the architect or an engineer or a designer. And it's literally like a plot plan that says where each of these buildings in your idea, where you want them to go. And it'll get further identified in a couple pages. Down below that, you just want to put the location in the market. These are quick bullet points that say what the market's like. Like for this, for instance, annual consumer spending is X billions of dollars. Median home price is this. Average household income is this. You want to make this a very, very appealing investment summary for a banker or for an investment firm who's going to give you capital to do your project. Sponsorship is just a quick couple paragraphs about the company that you work for. And if you're doing a joint venture, it'll have all the companies that are associated. One thing to highlight is you'll notice that there's a basic format for every page. There's a header block, there's two footers that are there, and again, there's the confidential. Next page, it's the same thing. This is where your pro forma goes. We're not even going to talk about the pro forma because that could be another hour, but it goes right there. Next one is the site plan. This is the same exact graphical depiction that was on the first page, the first text page, but it's blown up. So it's a full-size page, and you can actually see cross streets and what the general makeup is of how your site is going to be laid out. The next section is the actual site plan, and then your property aerial. These are both graphicals. They're the same exact thing that you can get from either Google Earth or Google Maps or Bing. but one of them literally just has a khaki background with roads depicted, and the next one is the actual aerial taken from satellite for that exact location. This is a good point too that you want to put on both of these graphical depictions. Your average annual daily traffic, that's a very, very important thing, especially if it's commercial and you're doing like a restaurant or a retail. People that want to give you money want to know how many people are driving past that road and how many people are going to see that shopping center. So that's a very important highlight to put on these graphics. The next page, the metropolitan area overview. This is one of the things where you sit there and usually you'll put like your site logo back up here. And this is a graphical. I'm just giving you text because we don't actually have a site. But you would put the graphic up in the whole thing, and then you put your site logo wherever it is in relation to that metropolitan area. Now, I'm from Denver, and I would put a Denver map up here. But if you're doing a project and say Cleveland, you put a map of Cleveland. You can use Google Maps or Bing, and then you put your site in a general proximity of where it's at in relation to major things like an airport or the downtown metro area or large shopping centers. Anything that's going to kind of highlight and showcase where you're at in relation to other major focal points. The next page you're going to do is a 3D aerial. This is definitely, you want to take this from Google Earth. Most major investment firms and development firms should have Google Earth. If they don't, just talk to their IT guy and they can download it for you. It's an invaluable resource that has plenty of overlays. But for this, what you're going to want to do for the 3D aerial is take a picture of where your business is going to be at in relation to key features within like a 1, 3, or 5 mile radius. Take, for instance, if you're doing a development in Denver, in Lone Tree near Park Meadows Mall, you're going to want to highlight Park Meadows Mall, but you're also going to want to highlight the neighborhoods that are south of there and east of there, like Ridgeway, these places that are being developed, that are developing like 10,000 dwellable units, or like the Charles Schwab that went in there, and there's up to 4,000 employees over the next 5 years that are going to come in there. These are added dollars that you want to highlight. The notable locations, the stuff that you've now just graphically depicted, you want to annotate those with text and highlight key demographics for those businesses in that area. This is a demographics page. A lot of this stuff can be put in any order. This is just the order that I've done it in. The qualitative demographics is usually a paragraph or two that literally just kind of textually describes what the area is that you're in. It kind of goes back to the front page, but this provides pertinent information about the community. So overall acreage, how much has been developed, how much is planning on being developed over the next 5 or 10 years, growth, income growth, anything that's like a percentage is a good thing to put here. The next thing is the demographics. I always want to put population, how many households, owner-occupied houses. That's actually a really, really big one. Daytime population, median age, household income per capita, college educated. These are all actual selling points for you as an investment firm to give to a bank. Like, we're going to try to develop this site, and it's in a really prosperous area. The next thing you want to do is put down actually the race and ethnicity. Some people might have an issue with this, but it's actually a good way to develop target markets. If you're in a neighborhood that is African American rich, you're going to want to contour your marketing strategy differently than you would if you were in an Asian neighborhood or a white. And if it's a mixed neighborhood, then you kind of have to play in all of that. So that's a sensitive one, but you want to put it. One of the last pages that you have is what's called the letter of intent tenants. These are people that have signed on to an agreement that they're going to lease a space from you for 5, 10, or 20 years. Now, these are selling points because what you want is you want tenants that have good credit. You want tenants that are publicly traded, that are like big names. Like, for instance, like if you're in a shopping center, you're going to want for Denver, like a King Soopers, like an anchor tenant, or a Chipotle, which is like a credit tenant, because they have a good business credit rating and they have deep pockets, and banks like to see that. You also want to put on prospective tenants, because these are tenants that you have, or that you have already established a dialogue with, and that are interested in your plot. So These are good things. And this could be simple as this page, or it could be 5 or 10 pages long, depending on how many people have given you LOIs and how many prospective tenants you have. This is the final page for an investment summary. You're going to put the company logo and, again, the site logo on there. And then usually you're going to get this from probably one of the principals if you talk to him or her, or somebody in your legal department that's going to give you a couple paragraph blurb about the company, what they plan to do with this thing. They're rehashing in a paragraph what this 10-page investment summary's already done. And this is pretty much the end of an investment summary. Any business that you work for might format it in a different manner, but these are the meat and potatoes that you need for an actual investment summary. Again, my name is Greg Klosterman, and thank you for your time.